will say good day to you this day of your time. Welcome to this transmission, which is titled Echoes of Sedona. We understand that some of the information that was delivered in the transmission in Sedona has caused quite a stir in your reality. To some degree, this was the intention, to stir the pot. But allow us to explain a little bit more clearly. First of all, there was a lot of speculation about why what was said was said. We will assure all of you that it came from us. It did not come from the channel. For those who would know the channel, you would know that the channel never would have said what we said, especially not in public. The idea is to understand that what was said was a response to a question that was asked about the energies associated with the choices you had before you. And the idea to pay attention to is the reactions that occurred. A couple of which were when the announcement was made, when the information was delivered, several people were surprised in a variety of ways, and some took it upon themselves to think, well, Bashar must be wrong. Or, Bashar has gone off the rails. Or, oh, the channel must be interfering with Bashar's message somehow. This cannot be Bashar. It is fascinating to note that for all the time that many people have been absorbing and receiving information from us on a variety of subjects, that as soon, no matter how long that's been, as soon as they have heard something that seems contrary to what they believe, suddenly the immediate reaction or assumption is that something must be wrong with the delivery, something must be interfering with the delivery, instead of a more balanced reaction of, well, that's interesting. I wonder why that was said that way. Or is it possible that this may mean something other than what I think? Or even, in your vernacular, as you say often, God forbid, I might actually be wrong in my beliefs. The idea is, of course, you can believe what you want. It is up to you. We are just observing the reactions and the idea that it gives us and the information that it gives us with regard to how ready people are for contact, how ready people are to be in a balanced state rather than thrown off balance. The idea also is that the information was simply an observation. Remember, we are not giving you an opinion. We are telling you what we see. When we answer a question, we are looking at the information embedded within the structure of space-time and simply reporting what it is we observe. As with anything, the information that we receive is of the moment and in the present, and as we have said, not a prediction, but simply a recognition of where the energy is at that moment it is delivered. Again, not an opinion, but an observation. Again, many may disagree with this observation, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what is embedded in the fabric of space-time. Also, the idea of delivering the information in that way, unusual as it was, we will admit, was the product of conferring with many other beings to make sure that the information was appropriate to deliver at that time. And again, for a variety of reasons. One of which was to accelerate the splitting of the prism that is going on in your reality, because several of the reactions to the information we delivered caused an acceleration in moving in whatever direction you had chosen to move. In other words, the statement ensured that the train tracks leaving the station would get farther apart, to accelerate the idea of the splitting and to bring about the idea of the evolution of humanity in a particular way, so that contact could occur in whatever way it needs to. The idea of saying that the feminine would lead to contact could have been said just that simply. The feminine would lead to contact. Or we could have said the feminine would lead to contact, the male would not, instead of the full delivery of what we had said. However, that wouldn't have been absolutely accurate. Both directions, in some way, shape, or form, will lead to contact. But it is the nature of that contact, the style of the contact, and the reason for the contact that will change according to which direction all of you decided to choose. We will be conferring, based on the outcome you have chosen, with many councils in our interstellar alliance, in order to determine what is now the most appropriate way for contact to occur. It will have shifted a little bit based on your choices, but it will occur. It is, in fact, at this point in your timelines, inevitable. We have said that it will occur within the next 5 of your years. This may still hold true. The idea is that there still can be a major event sometime in your late 2026, early 2027, that will begin this process. Again, not necessarily saying exactly the nature of this event or the causation of it. But like anything in creation, you will experience it in whatever way you have created your reality to be based on, whether out of love or out of fear. Not saying that the contact itself will in any way, shape, or form be fearful, but that the style of the contact may take its cue from whatever energy exists at the time in which it occurs. This will be the reason for much consultation, discussion, conferencing among us, so that we may determine the absolute correct timing, the absolute nature and style of the contact that will serve humanity best. But I do, in fact, repeat, it will be for the benefit and service of humanity, no matter how it is brought about, no matter what style it may appear in, no matter what course it may need to take, based on conditions that exist at the moment we determine that the timing of contact is appropriate. We encourage all of you to remain in a positive state, no matter what your belief system. And we will again reiterate that the idea of what we said is based not on necessarily actual physical individuals, but the idea of the qualities of feminine energy and masculine energy as they exist on your planet at this time. To take stock of either energy and to understand the importance and value of balancing that energy within you, so that the style of contact can be one that would be more completely representative of the idea of acceptance, of love, connection, and not necessarily of experiences that have to do with fear or disconnection or negativity in any way. Again, it will be for the service of humanity in the style in which it occurs. But we will, at the same time, remind you that we always have a reason for saying what is said, for delivering the information that is allowed to be delivered. There is always a purpose to it, even though you may not always be privy to that purpose. There are many things going on behind the scenes on your planet, some positive, some negative. Allow yourselves, without dissolving into conspiracy theories, as we have outlined in Step 1 of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment, but allow yourselves to understand there are many things going on behind the scenes. You have or are about to enter a new age on your planet, a new age of ideas of control, ideas of power, ideas of oversight, ideas that may bring about what appears to be a relatively peaceful world, though it may not necessarily be for the reasons that you think. Until such time as contact occurs to illuminate what is actually going on your planet behind the scenes, and to bring about a new understanding that will, at that moment, allow humanity to truly decide what direction it wishes to go in, how it wishes to evolve in the future, and how it can finally give up the illusion of power and focus on the power of the illusion. There are many things that are occurring and many ways in which we will communicate this idea in upcoming transmissions, revealing a bit more each time, and also more of how you can, in your own energy, remain in a balanced and positive state. For do remember, as we have always said, it's not about what happens as much as it is about what you do with what happens that determines how you experience your reality. There are some who will, in the upcoming times, in the upcoming days, weeks, months, find that what they thought was true is not so much. So we encourage everyone to remain in a balanced state, no matter what you believed to be true before, for there will be a new truth, a new understanding when contact occurs that will be revealed to you to allow you to open your eyes and see clearly for the first time in a long time how you have arrived at where you have arrived and where you can go from here should you decide to choose the path that is offered to you from your galactic family. All of this is said with the deepest love and appreciation and gratitude, and a reminder that Earth is a tough school. But despite all of that, It is a play that you are acting out on a stage, and regardless of who you may label, a hero or a villain, remember that you are all actors, and that once the play is over and you allow yourself to come from your soul center, you all recognize that you all simply chose to play a part that would allow for certain challenges to be faced and changes to be made that would thrust you into the future in a positive evolutionary path that will benefit all of humanity one way or another. And that the divisiveness that you now experience will become the very grounded foundation of the unity that you will create in the near future, in the days and years to come. So watch your definitions and understand that, just like the actors in a play, no matter who is playing the hero, no matter who is playing the villain in anyone's eyes, when the play is done, all the actors will get together, give up those identities, and truly settle down to share a meal as colleagues, as friends, as family. Unity is inevitable, but only through the validation of the differences in positive ways will that occur. We will remind you of this over and over again. And the ultimate reminder will be when we are face to face with you in the near future, at the time of contact, which is now, depending on style and regardless of style, inevitable. For you have crossed a threshold, you have tipped the scales, and it is on the horizon. We thank you for allowing us to share this clarification with you. Please take it in the spirit in which it is intended, and understand again, we always have a purpose and a reason for the information we deliver to all of you, though you may not always be privy to that reason right away. A lot of this is a test. A lot of this is a measure. A lot of this is to let us know what you are ready for and what you are not. For again, there are only very few circumstances in which we will intervene. But should those circumstances arise, we will be among you to make sure, first and foremost, that the unique school that is the earth will survive. For that is our priority. It is not something to be taken lightly. We thank you, and in return for the gift you have always given us in interacting with you, I ask now, in what way may we continue to be of service to you? Please begin with your questions, if you wish.
Hi, Bashar. My question is, I've got dumped after a 26 years relationship, and as soon as she left me, she pretty much disappeared from my life, like I've never existed, and she moved on really quickly with someone else after 1 month, and all of this make me feel like I'm pretty much useless to her. And my question is, why do I still, 6 months later, allow her to make me feel like that? Because I know I'm not, and my son demonstrated to me every day, my friends do the same, so I know I'm not, but I just don't understand why I still allow her to make me feel like that. This is my question. Thank you.
She doesn't make you feel like that. You make yourself feel like that. So her actions are pointing out to you that you're the one diminishing yourself. You're the one believing in your lack of worth. So she's giving you an opportunity to overcome that challenge, to know that you are worthy because you are getting signs that you are. It's giving you the opportunity to choose which ones you really want to pay attention to, which ones you want to believe are true. So you are still in doubt about your worth, which is why you keep wondering, why you keep reacting the way that you're reacting, and why you feel the way you feel about the fact that she is giving you this opportunity. So this is an agreement you have made to overcome your lack of self-worth and know that you deserve to know that you are worthy as the signs are being given to you by others in your life. Choose the path you really prefer and let go of the path that you don't.
Greetings, Bashar. How are you?
Good day. Perfect. And you?
Oh, I'm perfect as always. Yeah, this has been pretty synchronistic. My Wi-Fi went out as soon as my Zoom started, and that was a fantastic synchronicity, and it's a great practice of just letting go of any insistence of any outcome and staying in a positive state.
Yes, and then being able to tap into the information you need in other ways, like
telepathy. Exactly. It's like if this conversation happened in this way, that would have been fantastic. And if it didn't, it would have served me just as it was in that way.
A good lesson in the idea we have already mentioned in this transmission, that it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference in your reality. Yeah, so, amen. Well done.
Amen. So I was in Sedona for your transmission back in September. And I know, a lot of people were taken back from the political statements that you made. So was I, but I didn't say in a negative space. I quickly neutralized my beliefs and my feelings regarding those statements and went back to what you had just mentioned, that it's what we do that matters. It's the actions that we take. Anything outside of ourselves, it doesn't matter. And this has been such a fantastic opportunity for me to really hold true to my beliefs and not give in to any of these external circumstances. Because,
all right,
fast forward to the present time, we have a male candidate that is our, presidential leader again. And we all know what you had said regarding that. And it has really allowed me to address a lot of fears within myself and to transform those fears. So it has really just been a fantastic blessing, this whole situation.
All right. And we would like to address one more issue.
Go ahead.
Based on the surprise reactions that people had about the fact that we said anything at all regarding your politics, which is unusual for us. But the point is, it's not going to be that unusual in the future. Because as contact occurs, do you not think we're going to become more involved in every aspect of your society, including your politics? So the idea of conferring with our councils and the idea that we were allowed to even make anything close to what your people would perceive as a political statement is an indication of how close you are to contact in some form or another. Because we are going to be involved in every layer of your society, including your politics, your sociology, your economics, your religions. Everything will shift. Everything will change. Our presence isn't going to leave any aspect of your society untouched. So we want you to understand how everything in some way, shape, or form will shift, but it will shift in a way that will allow you, all of you, to process what you need, to face the challenges that you need in a way that will serve humanity evolutionarily to the benefit of humanity for your forward momentum into the future. So realize when you are asking for contact, It doesn't mean we're going to remain aloof or separate from you in terms of the things that happen on your planet. We're going to be involved in every aspect of your society in many different ways, technologically, sociologically, politically, religiously, spiritually, really, economically, everything. So that's what contact really means. The fact that we could address something even similar to a political comment shows you how close you're getting to having our involvement on your planet.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you for those words. And I like to bring up another event that occurred to me when I was in Sedona.
Yes.
And so I had just gotten to Sedona a few days before the event, and I met my mother, who now lives in Sedona, at Bell Rock, and it was around 9 o'clock at night. So the stars were out, and we went for a short hike to get into the beautiful energy of Bell Rock. And it was just so amazing to be there. And just the thoughts that were coming to my mind where, I know contact is going to happen and is already happening. However, I don't need to put the insistence that contact does need to happen in order to feel fulfilled, in order to be happy, because I put so much emphasis on it over the past years, and so much pressure on myself to make all this happen. But ultimately, it's like that in itself is still a condition. It's still.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that you need contact, and in fact, not needing it is what actually allows it to happen more quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I was explaining this to my mom, and I really felt it within my heart, and it was so beautiful. And so we later went on back to the parking lot from Bell Rock. And as we were just about to get to the parking lot, I decided to stop and just take in the moment one last time, because it was that beautiful. I just wanted to soak every second of it in. And as I did that, I saw just the most amazing shooting star go from one end of the sky to another end of the sky. And that was just, my confirmation that I'm on the right track, another synchronicity. My question for you was that a shooting star, or was that possibly a ship that I had saw?
No, it was a shooting star, but the synchronicity is what's important for you. And you took it in the way that you needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the fact that it was a shooting star even makes it not that much more beautiful, but it was just perfect the way it was. So, yes. Okay. So one last question. I've had a few gray owl encounters, and I know others have as well. What is the connection between the grays and the owls?
Well, they simply use owls to project the idea of a masked image, so that if it is really not an owl, it is simply something that you're familiar with that energetically represents them, but is a projected telepathic memory, so that you won't necessarily see them as they are, but see something that you are somewhat familiar with, that you don't necessarily freak out about, but you understand there may be something unusual about it. It's called a screen memory.
Okay. Why owls though? Why not another bird or another animal?
Well, they have very large eyes. Like the grays.
Okay.
There are other animals that have been reported in those screen memories, like deer and some such animals along those lines. But owls, again, as you say, gray owls, well, gray, large eyes, and wisdom. Owls are wise in your archetype, yes?
They are.
All right. And they are, in the night, because of their wing structure, very silent. They are suddenly upon you before you know it, because you don't hear them coming. So all of those qualities and attributes do fit the grays as well.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and thank everybody, physical and non-physical, who's here participating in these interactions. All my love to you.
Our unconditional love to you as well. Avail. Good day.
Iliabe. Thank you.
Hello. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Darryl and Bashar for all that they do for us. I have a question I'd like to ask Bashar, please. I understand from his teachings that when we are awake in the physical reality that we know, we are actually asleep because we are still in spirit and we have never left spirit. If that's how we perceive things, where are our spirit guides? When we are actually asleep and dreaming and back in spirit, are we able to communicate with them then? But then when we awaken back into the dream state here, do we forget them? So I hope that makes sense. So basically, when we're asleep back in the spirit world, are we able to communicate with our spirit guides there? Or are they in another dimension completely? I hope you can help me with that question. Thank you.
Yes, they're in the spirit dimension. Therefore, it's sort of like diving into the ocean and then getting back up on the boat. The people helping you are on the boat. You talk with them when you're on the boat, and then you decide to dive back into the water where now they're up on the boat and you're in the water and you can't really communicate. But then you go back up on the boat and you can talk to them again. So this is similar to what happens with your spirit guides. You focus on your physical experience, you withdraw within yourself. Now a portion of your consciousness as the soul is still there and still communicating with them, but as the physical being, you don't necessarily perceive all of that. But when you go to sleep, when you relax and go back into the connection of your spirit self, then yes, you're having communication. Sometimes you may remember them as dreams, or you may not remember them at all. Depends on how it serves a purpose to remember it, or how you remember it. But yes, that's basically what's happening. You focus down into physical reality. You want to focus on your physical life. You don't want to be interfered with. You want to be left to your own devices. The guides up on the boat will guide you subtly through synchronicity and a few other kinds of methodologies. And you can communicate with them freely when you're back up on the boat, but they leave you mostly to your own devices, just guiding you gently when you're under the water, when you're back in physical reality. That's just the way it works. It's the way you want it to work. Good day, good day, good day.
Good day, Bashar.
What would you like to discuss?
Well, I'd like to thank you, my deep appreciation to you for this interaction. And I would like to start with discussing step 5, volunteering of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment.
Yes?
I joined something called a threshold choir, which is a small choir of people who sing for people who are transitioning into spirit.
All right.
Hospice patients. And I was wondering, from a harmonic perspective, could you tell me how music helps to unlock people from physical reality?
Well, it can contain harmonics that are representative of the higher frequencies of the spirit realm, and therefore get them familiar by imbuing them with those frequencies, by bathing them in those frequencies, get them used to the vibrations that are representative of the higher spiritual realm and make the transition easier for them.
Oh, okay.
Sort of like lubricating the path.
Mm-hmm.
Putting them in a calm state that allows the transition to be smoother by bathing them in the harmonics of where they're going.
Oh, interesting. You recently described how our birthing process will evolve, and that we're going to be like in a dream state, and then we'll come out of that and there will be a baby there. That's simplified.
Yes, but that's many, many years down the road.
Yes, and I was just wondering, could you similarly describe the dying process, how that will evolve?
Again, far in the future, as you know time to exist, it will simply be that you will step out of, quote unquote, the body. You will expand yourself back to the soul level, the astral level, and the soul spirit level. The body eventually will no longer even be left. It will simply disappear back into energy. in the way that it was formed.
Okay. Is there any transitional phase before that that we're
Well,
heading
yes,
toward?
again, it will be that the body will still be in your physical reality, but there will be no infirmity, there will be no illness. You will simply decide to leave. You will simply step out of it.
Okay. I was also wondering if you were surprised by the election results.
No, not at all.
Okay. I just have one more question. Now with step 6, the CE5s,
Yes.
do you have any, it's getting colder here. I've been doing some here, but it's getting colder here. And I was wondering if you have any suggestions for other types of group gatherings where we can make ET contact, maybe indoors or in an environment.
Do you think that being inside a building would in any way, shape, or form be an inhibition for extraterrestrial contact?
Well, how would we see them if we were inside, really? I mean, we just look out the window?
You can either look out a window or you can allow certain phenomenon to appear inside the building, like spheres,
Okay.
energy spheres.
That's a good idea.
So,
All right.
no, you don't have to be outside to experience contact. Invite them in.
Okay. That's a great idea. I'll just use my creative imagination to come up with something.
All right. Many people see orbs inside buildings, and some of those are representative of ET contact. Some of them are representative of spirit contact. So it's absolutely no impediment at all to have a building around you for an orb to go right through the ceiling or right through the wall. Remember, they're not in the same phase that you are. That's not going to stop them.
Yes, I appreciate that point of view, because I don't think most of us were used to doing it through CE5 outdoors, and it's not as common to have indoor ET contact gatherings.
Yes. All right. But again, it's not going to stop it from happening.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just happen differently. That's all.
All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate this time we spent together today, and I love you.
All right. As do we appreciate it, and our unconditional love to you as well. Good day.
Good day. Aveo.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I believe that I've been contacted. It's been telepathic. However, these are not beings that are in an actual flesh and bone body. They're light beings. They seem to me to be plasma beings. I feel like I'm getting downloads that they're plasma beings, that they somehow carry consciousness. So my question to you, Bashar, is this true? Can this be happening to me? I see it in my backyard. I feel them, but nobody's listening to me. Is this really happening? Is this true? Can this be happening?
Yes, but all you may be seeing are the apparitions of your spirit guides or soul family attempting to say hello. So you can allow yourself through meditative practices, maybe even yogic breathing, condition yourself to be able to perceive them a little bit more clearly. So we would suggest that for you. It will center you, it will raise your vibration, and therefore you may meet them halfway so that you can perceive them more clearly, because obviously they are attempting to help you do that, to help you on that journey with that ability.
Hello, Bashar. Much love and gratitude to you. Thank you for having me.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
I have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
My first question, a few months ago, I had a dream I was in a house in the middle of a wheat field. Nothing around except the house. I remember going outside to the east side of the yard when I was approached by 2 beings. I couldn't make out their form or appearance. They escorted me to the west side and handed me a baby, then disappeared. As I held the baby up close, I realized that it was a synthetic life. It appeared semi-human, but it looked and felt synthetic. I remember looking at him and questioning how could this little being not have a soul. I recall touching its synthetic skin and it felt very soft. As I looked into its eyes, we began to communicate telepathically. I knew then that he was my son and felt profound love for him. I remember holding him tight against my heart, realizing that he did have a soul and that we are connected. The two beings then approached and said that the child needed to leave.
Yes.
I feared I would never see him again.
You will.
I remember crying as I held him close. I told the little one that I loved him very much, that I will always be his father and to never forget me, that we will always be connected through our hearts.
Yes.
I felt such a loss when the beings took him from my arms. I remember crying as they walked away.
All right. It's only temporary. You will meet again.
And that was one of my questions. And is he my child, and what type of life form is he?
It's a hybrid child. It's just that the synthetic idea came across because you are not used to the vibration of the hybrids. But then you did get used to it and saw that the being, in fact, does have a soul.
Yes, and I felt a profound connection with him. As I looked in the eyes, the more I looked into his eyes, the more the love grew.
Yes. Now, part of the idea of perceiving it as synthetic is also because the hybrid beings and many extraterrestrials are also connected to what you would call AI intelligence. So you might have been picking up on that and understand that AI intelligence doesn't necessarily have a soul in the same way that you mean that word, but because of that connection, you may have picked up upon that quality. Nevertheless, you're dealing with a hybrid child, and you will meet again.
Fantastic. I have one more question for you.
Yes.
There are some of us within our private contact group having encounters with a group of Pleiadians that call themselves the Plejarians, either in the dream state or through meditation.
Yes, it's actually Plejarians.
Plejarians. I recently had a dream that 3 triangular ships were passing overhead.
Yes.
Each craft appeared semi-physical, as though they were entering our physicality from another dimension.
They are.
This is the second time I've had a dream with these particular craft. In my dream, we try to photograph them with our cell phones, but none of us can do it. We keep dropping our phones and not able to focus on the ships. Then I'm instantly taken inside one of the craft. I recall seeing male and female beings dressed in blue uniforms. Then I'm back outside observing the ships as they pass over the horizon. Suddenly, I sense an attempt by one of the female beings trying to communicate with me. She seems to be using another being as a conduit to facilitate the connection. She tells me that she cannot communicate with me directly because we are at different frequencies.
Yes.
She then shows me a 3D picture of this metal rod-like structure with threaded ends, each having different thread sizes. I remember trying to insert different screws to fit the ends without any success. I felt this to be symbolic of a type of conduit, and connecting the right screws would allow for a common ground for communication.
Yes.
And my questions are, did I make contact with the Plejarians? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Pleiadians, Plejarians, same difference.
Plejarians, okay. And did I spend time inside their ship? And what's your take on the conduit?
Yes. The conduit is a symbol of the idea of making an attempt to connect, but finding something that would act as a connector between your vibration and their vibration.
And what would that be?
It's the way you interpreted it, but it's also part of their technology.
And the screws symbolize?
Making the connection, finding the right way to make the connection.
Any suggestions on that, Bashar?
Open your heart with unconditional love the next time you may have this kind of an encounter, and you will find the right connection.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Much love and gratitude to you, and thank you again for having me.
It is our passion and our pleasure, our unconditional love to you as well. Aveo.
Thank you.
Good day.
Aveo. Good day. Thank you.
Hello, dear Bashar. My name is Nadezhda. I have another question about sudden death. What is the mechanism during a sudden death? Does the person know it will leave the body? Is it aware? How is he convinced to leave suddenly his body? Or is the soul being put by somebody out? and by whom? When is it asked if it wants to cross over, before or after dying? Thank you very much. Alveo, much love.
Every soul determines its exit point. So at the time when the soul has determined that its life path has achieved what it needed to achieve in that life, that physical reality, it simply exits. No one is pulling it out. The soul itself is determining that it's done. Now, the exit point has a little bit of a window to it. In other words, it can be within a few years on either side of the actual exit point. So a soul could leave a little bit early or a little bit later, depending upon what it wishes to achieve or if there's unfinished business. But the idea is that every soul determines its exit point, and at that exit point, generally speaking, it will leave of its own accord. It will simply recall itself. It will wake up to the fact that its life path is done according to what it agreed to experience. Sort of like setting an alarm clock in your physical world. It will wake up when the alarm clock goes off. No one needs to pull it out. It simply transitions back into its soul awareness and is guided and met by its own soul family and its friends and councils and angels and spirit guides and what have you as a timed meeting by agreement, according to what the soul set for itself by agreement. Now, the physical mind may not realize it's about to leave, but the soul knows when its time is up, according to what it initially agreed to experience. So, no real surprise there to the soul. To the physical mind, yes, it may seem surprising. But in a flash of a second, the soul will remember, oh, this is where I decided to exit. And here I am, back in my soul self perspective.
Hello, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
I am great. Thank you. It is an honor and a pleasure to speak with you today.
Always a passion and a pleasure for us as well.
That's wonderful. My gratitude for your transmissions and the formula, they have helped me so much. So my appreciation.
All right. What would you like to discuss this day?
I would like to talk about time. You've mentioned that all time is here and now. However, we experience time in a linear fashion.
Yes.
Why is that?
So that you can experience the process of change, the creation and discovery of new points of view, which cannot be experienced in a timeless state when you are aware of everything. So you create the forgetfulness that allows you to understand that you know everything and are connected to everything, so that you can play out the process of discovering a new perspective of yourself, because that is how creation expands. That is how the soul grows, because the structure of existence never changes, because everything is here and now. But the relationship to that structure, the experience of that structure, the perspective of that structure is what always constantly changes, which is what allows creation to expand. So you're playing your part in the expansion of creation by creating the experience of linear time so that you can discover something new from a new perspective through the process of discovery, through the process of change, rather than things simply being instantaneously there. Does that answer your question sufficiently?
Let me ask a follow-up question. So
Yes.
From the process of change, is that from remembering our past and thinking about how we want to be right now in our present, and so that's bringing up change?
Yes. By making the comparison that you have created in linear time with the idea of a progression from past through present to future, you give yourself the perspective necessary to experience a process of change.
Okay, so
In that process, you learn many different lessons that you otherwise wouldn't learn in the same way by being in instantaneous existence.
Okay. So one of our experiences with coming down into a physical body or having the soul create a physical body for us is for us to experience that. So if we wanted to experience time the way you do in our physical bodies, is that even possible?
To some degree, you can, but it will still be only that which is relevant for your physical experience, although you can expand it a bit. But let me give you another analogy. Look at it from a story structure point of view. How would you feel about a story that you were eager to hear or to see if it began once upon a time and then suddenly said, and they lived happily ever after? You would go, well, what happened in the middle?
Right.
So, by having physical linear reality, you get to experience the process of getting to happily ever after from once upon a time. Otherwise, there's no story, there's no adventure, there's no lesson, there's no learning, there's no growing, there's no changing.
Okay, that makes sense. So this might be related to it, but maybe different perspective. In a previous transmission, you were discussing 9 levels of consciousness, and you talked about how the oversoul does not require a lot of space, and it experiences time in a multidimensional way.
Yes, what we call simultaneous time. Now, in physical reality, you experience linear time. On the soul, individual soul level, you experience intermittent time because you can experience either linear time or instantaneous time. But on the oversoul level, it's instantaneous, simultaneous time where you have multiple experiences being experienced all at once. In the same way, again, by simplistic analogy, as if you were watching thousands of television screens and capable of understanding every single story being told on every single one of those screens all at once. That's the oversoul perspective.
Okay. And then what did you mean by it doesn't need a lot of space?
Well, the idea of collapsing time down to an instantaneous single moment is the same thing as your Einstein discovered, because space-time is one basic thing, just two different, shall we say, effects of the same idea. So collapsing the time collapses the space. No space is required because, again, space is also an illusion. It's a real experience that you can create, but it doesn't really exist in the way that you think of it as an actual place. Distance is an illusion. There's no distance between anything. Everything is here and now. Therefore, it's collapsing space as well as time, because that's the here component of the here and now. If now is collapsed, so is here.
That makes sense. Okay. So speaking of the oversoul, you described it as the hand and the fingers as the individual souls.
Yes.
Does each individual soul have multiple physical beings associated with it?
Over the course of time, it can appear that way, and that's what you typically refer to from your linear perspective as reincarnation. Because the soul, being an energy sphere, creates the body within itself out of certain vibrations that represent the challenge that that soul wishes to experience to help it grow. When the soul returns to its full form, its full shape, in other words, when the physical body has, quote unquote, died or expanded back to the idea of the soul perspective, then it can choose different vibrations to create a different personality, to have a different experience, linearly speaking. Therefore, you could say that that is really the way reincarnation works, but the idea is that every new personality also has a different soul, because the configuration of vibrational patterns within the soul that created that different body had to also be different, and therefore it is, in a sense, a different soul. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And so
it just depends on the perspective, subjectively, that you're coming from when you describe this process as to how you experience it.
Okay. So are these different beings from the same soul? They're in different realities at the same time?
Oh, you're talking about parallel realities.
Okay.
That's a little bit different than the idea of the reincarnational realities that we just described. It's a type of parallel reality, but there are actually multiple types of parallel realities. So again, it depends on subjectively which type you're actually referring to. If you're referring to the idea that there may be what you would think of as multiple versions of yourself experiencing different pathways, that's one type of parallel reality structure.
Okay. From one soul, when it expands and then it contracts and it creates another entity, is that, you mentioned that it could be a different personality. So it could be a different, it might not be me, it might be a different entity.
Oh yes, it's not you, it's a different entity. And the soul is different as well. Because again, it's creating that different personality out of different vibratory frequencies within its energy. So in a sense, you can say from one perspective, yes, it's the same soul creating another physical body. But from another perspective, you could say, well, that's a different soul because it's made up of different energy patterns, because it's given different patterns to the physical body. And therefore, those patterns don't exist within the soul anymore at that level. It's a different soul because it's a different formula of vibrational frequencies in order to create that different, unique personality out of those different frequencies.
And then do animals and humans come from, I know they're different, do they come from the same soul?
A soul is an individual thing.
Okay.
Animals have their own souls.
Okay.
Animals are connected to the angelic realm. They're not angels, but they come from the angelic realm because they are representative of unconditional love.
Okay, I appreciate that.
But animals have their own souls. They have their own life paths. They are intertwined with yours, but they have their own.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate your time today and all the information.
Our unconditional love to you as well. Aveo. Good day.
Hi, Bashar. This is Marcus from Norway. I have a question about a theory that I developed 3 years ago, which relates to the ideas of ships and physics. If we were to put a consciousness at the center of a ship and then facilitate the development of the ship and its technology to properly reflect what a consciousness does most naturally, which is go into a state of flow, then developing the different modules of every module of the ship according to that knowledge, would that cause the ship to go into a state of flow? And if so, would that cause the ship to pass the upper third density threshold and therefore go faster than the speed of light? Thank you. We love you. Aveo.
Yes, depending upon the material that you're working with. It's not going to happen for all materials. This is, in a sense, what happens with the ships that we use, is that they are crystallized versions of our higher minds. So, yes, what you're saying is true, and it raises the vibration above and beyond the threshold of physical reality when it is imprinted with that vibration and unlocked from any particular physical universe. It allows it to shift and reduce the idea of distance to nothing. So yes, in general, you are correct, but only for certain kinds of technological materials and substances that would allow that to happen. Your physical world doesn't have those substances quite yet.
Greetings, Bashar. I suffer from aphantasia, the inability to visualize. I'm always in darkness. I can't see anything since I was about 8 years old. I went to a Dolores Cannon session, and there was someone with me named Abel. That was his joke, short for ability. And it was taken away from me so that I can send up all this information in its purest form, not boxed up. But the problem is I'm sad about that because I can't picture anything, faces, people, places. Everything's new for me every day, and I embrace that. But my concern is that going to hinder me at all from reaching a higher frequency, a higher elevation? Because I want that. I need that. So if you could guide me in my journey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Aphantasia will not hinder you one little bit. You just have to use your imagination to create the images that you feel are necessary in a different way. Maybe learn to draw them, or create a collection of pictures that you can look at physically in your world, which will be perfectly fine substitutes for the idea of not necessarily holding them in your imagination or your mind. So be creative with the idea of how to create pictures that represent what you need them to represent in whatever way, shape, or form your creativity and imagination so desires. Take advantage of what's available to you in your physical reality to replace that system with something physical. It will not inhibit you one bit from raising your vibration.
Hi, Bashar.
And good day to you, Molly.
We have a lot of questions today. I'm excited to ask.
All right, but before you do, we have a little continuation of the monologue. So, give us a moment. The idea is to remember, in this exchange, this day of your time, in this transmission, are two of the principles that we have discussed over the years, that we have been communicating with all of you. Number one, remember, it is not about what happens that matters. It is about what you do with what happens that makes the difference in your reality. Number two, the fourth step of the formula, to stay in a positive state no matter what occurs, even if it is objectively out of alignment with what you prefer. By staying in that positive state, it will allow you to extract a benefit from it. So staying in that positive state, remembering that it's all about your response to what is going on that makes the difference, are vitally important at this time for you to remember with regard to the subject at hand of this transmission. Now, let us remind you that when we spoke in Sedona, in that transmission, and we referred to female and male energies, we were talking about energies, not necessarily the idea of specific people. We allowed you to make that interpretation. Even though sometimes those energies can be applied to specific people, our purpose, as we have just said, in making what appeared to be a political observation, a political statement, was for the purpose of taking a reading on the pulse of your population in terms of your response and reaction to what was said. The idea, therefore, is that our Interstellar Alliance Council has now been in deep discussions for quite some time, since that transmission, about the differences that may occur in the upcoming years with regard to contact, not based on any political elections on your planet, but on your responses to the comments that were made. So the idea to understand is, while contact is still going to occur, is still inevitable within the next 5 of your years, we gave you that window of 5 years because there was movability, flexibility within that window. Due to reactions and responses that we received and picked up and observed in the collective energy of your society with respect to the comments that were made in our transmission, we have determined that there is now a high degree of probability that what we first suggested would occur at the end of your 2026 and the beginning of your 2027 may now occur somewhere more around your 2028 or 29. Because we now have to assess exactly, based on what we have picked up from all of you, exactly how and why contact will occur on your planet. It will still happen, but the reasons for it, the style of it, may change somewhat due to our observation and assessment of information that people on your planet are capable or not capable of handling. Remember, as we just said in the initial monologue, we did not give you a political opinion. We gave you a reading of the energy that exists at this moment with regard to the idea of whether or not male and female energy will move forward in a balanced way in your society or an imbalanced way in your society. The most important thing that we can say at this time is this. We will put it in these terms. You have entered the age of what you term the oligarchs. The people that you choose to put into positions within your governments that you elect are not the people that are, in your terms, running things. It almost does not matter who you have elected, for there are many things going on behind the scenes that will come out in certain ways at certain times that will allow you to recognize how your world is really run and allow you the opportunity to work together, to talk to each other, to finally communicate instead of divide, instead of being divisive, instead of sticking to your own opinions, instead of basing them on fears, to finally break down the barriers and allow yourself not to be on one side or the other of the glass wall that creates the splitting prism, but to be the glass wall, to allow communication to flow in both directions, to get at the crux of the issues deep down and to not be afraid to talk to each other, to discuss with each other, to learn from each other, to hear each other, to commune with each other. Remember, you are all on the same planet, even if you are in different realities. We have talked about the idea of multiple variations of Earths, so do not be confused by this phrase. The idea in your minds is that you have one world, and it can be experienced that way even if you are in different realities as individuals. It can be experienced positively as one world if you allow yourselves to begin to truly talk with one another, to communicate with one another on a deeper level, to go around and get past your fears of what the others in your lives may think, may believe. It's about the idea of being willing to open up communication and making that the most important thing in your reality so that you can express your true self-empowerment as you move forward toward open contact. So even while our Interstellar Alliance is having a discussion on our end about how, where, when, and why contact will occur, inevitably, in your realities, all of your realities, the idea is that you must also convene discussions communications and have consensus on a very important level, regardless of the differences you may have in your perspectives. It's all right to be different. It's all right to have different points of view. It's all right to be yourselves, but you must make sure that those perspectives and those points of view are not coming from negative or fear-based beliefs. Find within each other the positive aspects of each other's perspectives. Learn, talk, discuss. Do not be afraid. Be open, be kind, be gentle. This is the most important thing. And to that end, as the presentation in Sedona initially of the description of how open contact